Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today, I'm taking you through 5 steps to help guide you in your process if you are somebody who comes out later in life. Since 2021, we're seeing an explosion of people who realize later in life that they are actually part of the queer community. Because it happens a bit later in life for a lot of them, there's an entirely different process to coming out, to owning who you are, to telling people how you want to be in the world. Because for a lot of people, they've either had their lives sort of on hold until then, till they figured out they knew there was something, they just weren't either ready for it or sure what that something was, or they've started lives and families that fit into the cishet narrative, and then they find out that they don't. These 5 things are going to hit pretty significantly no matter whether you choose to just come out to yourself and understand who you are, to tell a partner you're already with, or to tell your family who you've never really told before. However you decide to tell the world who you are, that's what this video is for. Number 1, be prepared for questions. If you're a woman in your 30s and you go to your parents and you say,
"Parents, I am a lesbian."
If you've ever dated a man in your entire life, they're probably going to ask about that. When someone is not queer and someone is not around those in the queer community, so not an ally, it can be hard for them to understand how you go from one to another. People ask, and you get the right to do 2 things. You can either tell them you're not answering questions, or you can answer questions. You need to be prepared with what you're going to do with those questions. If I were making a suggestion, I would sort of draw a circle around yourself and know who's inside that circle and who's out. In other words, who you are willing to answer questions of and how many. You know, you get questions for 2 months, you get questions for the rest of your life, you get questions for a day. How are you going to handle that? And then everyone outside of that circle, you don't have to answer their questions. You will still get them. It is a phenomenon that I cannot understand, but I can absolutely say I have experienced, that cishet people feel entitled to information about those in the queer community, especially if they didn't know they were members of the queer community the whole time they've known them. So I told you before about a neighbor that I have who was upset with my wife and I after we moved in and thought we, like, I don't know, weren't trustworthy or something because we didn't just come out and announce our relationship, which is the most bizarre thing, because if a man and a woman had moved in, then they would have just made assumptions, right? But because they didn't want to assume the wrong way, it was our responsibility to fix that for them. It wasn't. And to this day, I've never actually had a conversation about that with them, because I still believe that they need to come to me if they want to talk about it. I'm open answering questions that almost anybody asks me, if they ask them of me in good faith. If they ask them of me because they're genuinely curious and they are willing to be wrong or to ask the question incorrectly, or, you know, I'm not easily offended, so I'm a great person to ask the questions of, but you have to come to me and ask the question for me to actually answer it. So create your understanding of how you're going to answer questions that you're going to get, because you're going to get them. Number 2, don't be surprised if they already know. I'm going to put a caveat to this one though. Don't be surprised if they already know and then say they don't. Don't be surprised if they didn't know and they say they did. And don't be surprised if they did know and tell you they know. People have reactions when someone tells them they are not who they've understood themselves to be. So when you come out as someone who's not cis, het, and let's add in here monogamous. If you come out to someone as polyamorous, or you come out to someone saying you and your partner are involved in ethical non-monogamy, they're also going to have questions about that, right? They're going to ask about friends that you've had that you seemed close to. Like, people have these, again, weird understandings of what their rights are to information and what they aren't. And it is up to you to set those boundaries. So if somebody says to you, if you tell someone who you are and they say, "Oh, I already knew," and there's no way they knew, part of me says give it to them. Just let them think they knew. You know, let them live that life. You do not need to put energy into correcting that. Now, if it costs you to not correct them, if it's somebody who you just really can't stand to believe they knew when they actually didn't, have at it. Go ahead and correct them. Whatever. Do what you need to do to be cathartic for you. But if someone needs their illusions, sometimes it's best to give it to them, because it doesn't take anything from you. When I told my mom about my wife and I swore she knew. I swore up and down that she knew. And I don't know a whole lot of people in my life that also didn't assume that she knew. She says to this day she didn't know. I can't prove it either way. In reality, it doesn't matter. It wasn't a thing. The point is, you know now. The point is, I'm coming to you and we're talking about this now. And everything else, you can decide what you're gonna do with. On the flip side of that, I also had a friend who had shared a domicile with my wife and I a couple of times when we were still not telling people. And when I finally sat down to have the conversation with her, she was so excited and she was like, are we really talking about this now? I can't believe we're actually going to talk about this. So that was a very different response, but also I didn't know that she knew. I genuinely did not know. But again, even if I went into that conversation with a preconceived notion, does it matter? In the long run, no. What mattered was I was coming to people in my life that I cared about. I was telling them things about me and I was safe to do so. And that was what I chose to focus on. Connected to this is number 3, because it does deserve its own place. You might lose people in your life. There might be people that decide you've lied to them. And I use air quotes because I did have that said to me from an employer. I had not told this person that I was married to a woman and therefore I was not trustworthy because I had lied. Folks, that's untrue. I'm not going to get into the minutia of whether I lied or not. I mean, I didn't lie, but a lie by omission is still a lie to some people, and that's fine because everybody has their right to their opinion on things. I'm okay with that. I lost people when I became public about my wife. And she had been in my life for so many years already. For some reason, being open about it and claiming it and saying the words made it egregious for some people. And I lost people. I lost a lot of people. I also gained people. I gained a deeper friendship with that friend that I told and was so excited that we were finally going to talk about this. I gained a better understanding of myself and a better footing in the world around me. Even though I had come out many years before, I was still working in churches and she was still working jobs that we just weren't talking about that kind of stuff outside of our relationship. Just wasn't safe. And so on a personal level, everybody knew, but even professionally and publicly, really wasn't until this channel came out that I was so public about this. And I don't regret any of that, but it would be foolish for anyone to think that coming out, especially later in life, is not going to cost you people. It very well could. Do you want those people in your life? I mean, ultimately, if it's a family member or somebody you thought was a good friend, it's gonna hurt. It hurts. I will not lie to you about that. But do you want those people in your life at the end of the day, at the end of your month, when you're celebrating a new year or a milestone in your life? Are those the people that you want next to you? The people that you have to clean yourself up for and put a face on for and be someone who is not authentic to you? I didn't. I don't. I would rather have a very small group of people around me than have a large, inauthentic group of people around me. That's just me. And that's not true for everybody. And that's fine that it's not true for everybody. But knowing who you are and in that way prepping for the fact that you might lose people and you probably will gain people who will feel closer to you because you're going to be more you. All right, number 4 is all about getting out there. I am going to tell you, download a dating app or two. Download an app that is safe. Do not meet someone you meet on a dating app in public unless other people know you're going. Do the safety things. Okay? Getting out there dating wise is an entirely different story when you come out later in life than it is if you come out when you're still figuring out who you are. So dating apps and groups that are geared towards queer dating might be really important for you if you don't already have a link into the queer community when it comes to single queer people. Get involved with things in the queer community in your area. And if there isn't one, get online and find people. Queer up your social media feed. Go search the hashtags #loveIsLove or LGBTQ. Search the hashtags that match who you are. And follow people on social media. And if you can't find anybody you want to follow, find a famous queer person that you relate to and see who they follow. See what they like. See what they're posting and what hashtags they're using and follow those. Speaking of following famous people, I would also encourage you to find some other people who've come out later in life. For me, one of my favorite couples to point people to is Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach. If you don't know who they are, please go ahead and find them. Glennon's book, Untamed, she's got a lot of books out there, y'all, but her book, Untamed, is actually life-changing. Get the book. Also get the journal. It's fantastic. Not sponsored in any way. I just read the book multiple times and working my way through the journal for, I think, the 3rd time now. It is so good. The identity piece of who you are and how the way that you were raised affects who you are and how we do need to sort of shake off those expectations in order to be ourselves. And for some people, it takes into their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, Whenever it happens for you is when it happens for you. You are not on anyone else's timeline, and to use someone else's timeline would make it inauthentic and ineffective if you wanted to really be you. If your whole goal in coming out to people and coming out to yourself and presenting differently to the world is so that you can be authentically you, stop trying to use someone else's timeline. Cause that's, yeah, that's not authentic. Number 5, I had to end on this one. Be kind to yourself. The world is hard right now. I mean, existing in the world is hard right now, but it is hard to look at the world that we're in right now and the backlash that's happening against the LGBTQIA+ community. Be kind to yourself. Take your time. Have your moments. Celebrate those moments. And also, don't push yourself to have moments until you're ready. And overall, if this is a hard process for you, and if you feel like it would be beneficial, find a therapist to talk to. There are those of us out there who do specialize in these types of things. We do exist. And that's our job, is to help you to work through those things that society and family and an earlier understanding of who you are, work through the things that that's put on you in order to help you to live a more self-actualized and full life. That's it for today. If you'd like to learn more about coming out later in life, I invite you to go ahead and check out this video right here for more information about that. I will see you all next time, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other.